The HOA president hacked my Wi-Fi, then fined me $500 per day, after my teenage son locked her out. And that wasn't even the worst of it. What we uncovered made our quiet neighborhood look more like the front for a criminal empire. I thought this was just a fight about lawn height, but it turned into a war that nearly broke my family. Act 1. The conflict begins. I'll never forget that Saturday morning. I was mowing my lawn, sweating, humming, proud of those perfect clean lines when I heard her voice. Karen Grayson, president of the Ridgeview Oaks Homeowners Association. "You're cutting it too low," she barked, clipboard in hand, like it was a royal scepter. I stared at my grass. It was green. Cut. Perfectly fine. But Karen quoted Article 4, Section B, Paragraph 3, like she was reciting scripture. She scribbled on her clipboard and said, "Verbal warning. Next time it's a fine." I laughed in disbelief. "It's my grass, Karen." But she just smirked. "It's my neighborhood. You'll follow the rules." And then, with a flourish, she added, "That'll be a $100 fine for homeowner to board member harassment." I nearly exploded. My wife Tara stepped onto the porch, iced tea in hand, calm as always. While I was 2 seconds from snapping that clipboard in half, Karen walked away with her beige pantsuit flapping like a villain's cape, and I was left clutching an official notice on my own driveway. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about grass. This was about control. At first, I thought maybe I was just unlucky. But no, Karen had a pattern. Fred, my neighbor, was forced to hide his collection of garden gnomes because she said they violated aesthetic harmony. Another family got fined for a rusty basketball hoop. Even an old lady was cited because her wind chimes created noise pollution. Karen fed on rules. She lived for them, and she used the HOA as her personal army. I told myself we'd keep our heads down, play by the rules, stay invisible. But people like Karen, they don't want compliance. They want submission. And my refusal to bow was gasoline on her fire. Act. Escalation and the twist. The war didn't explode on the lawn. It started in my living room. Friday night, movie night, popcorn on the stove, Kevin on the couch, Tara curled beside me. I hit play. 30 seconds in. Buffering. Again. The dreaded spinning circle. Kevin frowned. Internet's been crawling all week. Now, Kevin's not just a teenager. He's a code-slinging, hardware-building, sleep in a nest of wires kind of kid. He vanished into his command center, and 20 minutes later came back pale. "Dad," he said, "someone's stealing our bandwidth. Like 80% of it."
"What, who?"
He rubbed his messy hair. I traced it. The clubhouse. HOA servers. The HOA was stealing our internet. I laughed at first, because honestly, who would believe that? But Kevin's eyes were sharp. They're siphoning from every house, but they're draining us the hardest. That's when it clicked. The timing. Right after the lawn fight, Karen had found a new weapon. I looked at Kevin and asked, "Can you stop it?" He grinned. My son's grin. The one he wore before beating impossible video game levels. "I can do better. I can lock them out." And he did. A few furious keystrokes later, he slammed a digital door in Karen's face. The next morning, she stormed onto my lawn, router in hand, shrieking about illegal Wi-Fi. By noon, my car had a towing warning. By the end of the week, we had half a dozen fines for weeds, bins, even hostile wireless activity. This wasn't enforcement. This was harassment. I confronted her once, near the clubhouse flower beds. She leaned in close, eyes cold, and whispered, "People who cause instability in this community find life becomes very, very uncomfortable." It wasn't just petty anymore. It was a threat. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, broken. I couldn't sleep, couldn't think. My family was being targeted, punished, humiliated, and all because I refused to kneel. I asked myself, am I wrong? Am I dragging Tara and Kevin into this just to protect my pride? For a moment, I wanted to sell the house, just run. But then Kevin showed me what he'd found buried inside the HOA servers. Not just stolen bandwidth, not just fines, something bigger, something called Project Viper. Huge encrypted files, offshore accounts, HOA dues funneled into crypto, and a private network built to hide all of it. We hadn't just stumbled into HOA hell, we had tripped over a criminal operation. And Karen, she wasn't the queen, she was the gatekeeper. Act 3. The climax. We decided to get proof, real proof, not just hacked files. Kevin built a device, a data sniffer, to plant inside the clubhouse. And one moonless Thursday, dressed in black, we broke in, moving under motion sensors, crawling like statues, my hands shaking as I picked the lock. Kevin clipped his device to the server rack, 30 seconds that felt like 30 years. And then headlights Karen's SUV. We barely escaped into the shadows as she stomped inside. My heart nearly exploded, but we did it. The trap was set. 2 days later, the data came in, and that's when we learned the real truth. David Chen, the meek, stammering HOA treasurer, the man who couldn't read a financial report without sweating. He wasn't Karen's victim. He wasn't her lackey. He was our kingpin, the mastermind behind Viper. Karen was just his middle manager. I wanted to scream. We'd been staring at the wrong monster the whole time. That's when I called the feds. Detective Daniel Harlan. He didn't laugh. He didn't doubt. He listened. And when I said the annual dues meeting was 3 days away, he said, "We'll be there." The plan? Simple. FBI agents posing as residents. Cameras everywhere. My job: cause a scene. Be the angry homeowner. Buy them 30 seconds of chaos. Saturday arrived. The clubhouse buzzed with residents and folding chairs. Karen at the podium, smug. David beside her, pretending to be nervous. The silver briefcase sat at his feet. My heart pounded. My cue. I stood up. "Excuse me," I said loudly. "I've got a question." Karen sneered. "You're out of order." "Am I?" I walked to the front, heat rising in my chest. "Am I out of order for asking why my family's been fined over $1,000 for imaginary violations? Or maybe I should ask your treasurer here, David, what exactly Viper is?" The word hit them like a bomb. Karen stumbled. David froze, eyes wide. His hand shot for the briefcase. And that's when the room exploded. FBI. Nobody move. Agents leapt from folding chairs, badges flashing, guns raised. Residents gasped. Karen shrieked, wild-eyed, like the world was crumbling around her. David bolted, clutching the case, sprinting for the exit, only to find neighbor Fred blocking the door, wielding a garden gnome like a baseball bat. "You're the one who took my gnomes," Fred growled. And with a swing that'll live forever in HOA legend, he smashed the briefcase from David's hands. Hard drives scattered across the floor. Agents swarmed. David went down, screaming. Karen was cuffed before she could blink. It was over. The HOA queen and her kingpin were finished, dragged out of the clubhouse, while neighbors watched in stunned silence. Closing line. I thought I was fighting for my lawn. But the real battle was for my family and for the truth hiding in plain sight.